Okay, so I saw Mean Girls yesterday and I was like, we gotta talk about it. Can we talk about it? Hello, darlings, and welcome to Performance Perspective, where we watch different performances and then we share our perspectives. If you're new here, hi, I'm Carolyn, but you could call me Care Darling. And today we are talking about Mean Girls, the movie musical. But before I get into that, I just want to say, yes, I'm coming back. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I'm like, man, I really don't know what to talk about on my channel, and I'm not very inspired to do so. But if you are someone that loves movie musicals, or you're like, all right, I want to see some more, but I don't know where to look, fear no longer, because I created a playlist. I created a playlist on here where you can watch free musicals, and I was shocked to find it's on YouTube, you guys, like for free. Like you can watch Phantom of the Opera, and I put in, I don't care what you think, I put in Ella Enchanted, and I put Josie and the Pussycat Dolls, and I might do an episode on that, but I find myself, wondering, okay, but I don't really have like an interesting take on it, except that I love it and I don't care what you think. So yeah, anyways, there is only one movie musical on that playlist that I actually hate it. I absolutely hate it. And so you could take a look and take a guess. Which one do you think I hate the most? But I put it on there because I was like, that's only fair. Okay, so anyways, that was a fun tangent, but let's get into this movie. And I actually want to make this like short and sweet because the main thing is I loved it. I thought it was amazing. I want people to go to theaters and watch it. And dare I say it? Dare I say it? I actually prefer this more than the original. Gasp, I know. Get to my points very quickly. The story is amazing, and I think the kind of story that Mean Girls is something that can live on in different generations, because we can all relate to, going to school, wanting to be popular, wanting to be loved, wanting to, just feel a sense of fitting in. Right? It's almost like A Star is Born, where no matter when they have that story go in and through each generation, there's just something about it that is timeless, and also something that everyone can understand, like it in its time period. Okay, so as far as its story, wonderfully done. In case you don't know, it was originally came from a book that then became the OG movie. I call it the OG movie. Wow. And Tina Fey took it, made it a movie, and then years later it went and turned into a musical, and then years later has now turned into a movie musical. I would say that I came in prepared to watch it because I watched the musical live. You might have been following me. Sorry, there is construction happening like downstairs, so if you hear it, my bad. But anyways, I went and saw the live version, and something I noticed was that there was a lot of things that they did not put in there that was from the original movie. For example, the three-way call. But you know what they added? The fact they added more social media. So that's when it hit me where I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool, is that Mean Girls is going to adapt whatever that time period is. So it's like if we had the musical have that three-way and everything, for the younger audience, they may not think, oh, that's embarrassing or that's bad, because it would be worse to have something recorded, be posted on social media, and you have to relive that embarrassing moment with practically the world, or your school, which is the world, That was why I felt a sense of being prepared. Of course, I knew it was a musical. I do think it's ridiculous that the trailers won't show things are a musical, because with the audience, the musicals don't test well with the audience, which my big old tangent about that is the fact that whenever people do musicals, a lot of times they do it really cliche and horrible, and I blame the directors. I'll get into that tangent later. As far as the music, when I saw it live, I didn't care for it. I mean, the only songs I was like, okay, was Sexy, which is Karen's song about Halloween, and also Revenge Party, but I think it's because Revenge Party just stuck in my head, but I didn't want to be in my head. But when I saw this movie, I was like, holy moly, the music sounds amazing. And maybe it's because they're able to, you don't have to belt every song, or, you know, you don't have to worry like, oh my gosh, my mic is not going to catch it. Like, they're able to manipulate the orchestra with the voices, and also how things were shot. It actually sounded really good, and I can actually hear a lot of the beats behind the voice, where I was like, heck yes, I'm all for it. And so that was really well done. As far as the performances and characters, they did a great job. There wasn't one person on there where I was like, about it. And which I actually think is a good sign. I don't want to spoil it. I will say that I was actually happy that more of the things they were focusing on was the mean girls. And so I was fine that, you know, Aaron Samuels didn't have a song, and they took out the song with Regina's mom, which was Busy Phillips. Like, that wasn't in there, and Katie's mom didn't have a song, and Coach Carter didn't have a song. I don't think Coach Carter ever had a song, but that doesn't matter. The point is that I was glad that it was more featured around these girls. Now, not that I'm just focusing on the girls, but shout out to Damien. Damien in the OG movie was my favorite character. And to see this new Damien, he made it his own. I loved what he did. And I just love this character so much, because the best way I can explain the duo of Damien and Janice is that he's like, you know, like a loyal dog that will be there and have your back. And he's just so full of love. And then Janice is a cat. Now, in the original, she's the kind of cat that just scratches you and you're like, I don't know about this. But in the newer version, Janice, I would say she's the cat where it's like, she doesn't like everybody the way Damien does, because, you know, he's a loyal dog. But if she likes you, like, she will be loyal to you and love you, but she doesn't have to like everyone else. So I really enjoyed that dynamic. Now, if you're wondering, like, wait a minute, how in the world, like, I was 13 when the original came out. Like, that was my teen movie. And I think, like I said earlier, there is a sense where I'm like, you know what? This story isn't meant to just be my generation's. This story is meant to be shared for those growing up. And so therefore, I give them like, I don't know. I think it has to do a lot with also, like, it's not mine to like gatekeep and be like, you don't know what's good, kids, and whatever. I don't know. I think that's silly. But I will say, as far as the storyline, something that they shared that I absolutely was like, oh, actually, I'm not even going to share it because I don't want to spoil it. I'm not going to share that. But there were a lot of unanswered questions that they were able to answer. And something I appreciated about this was they put a lot more responsibility on Katie versus Katie kind of just like being, you know, oh, and I did this and oh, I don't know. And it's kind of like, well, Katie, like, I don't know. They put more on Katie's plate, which I think helped her a lot become more of a 3D character versus, you know, I'm from Africa and I don't know much about this culture. It's like, well, you got to know the culture and you know, kept going. So that's what I'll say about that. Let's get into my musical theater background kind of notes. Because like I said, I enjoyed this movie and you may be like, okay, but let's get into, I think, as far as it being a musical, because of course the first question I think a lot of people ask is, why are they singing? Like, what are they doing? Hang on, let me turn on the light because it's gotten dark. So, oh, okay, I don't know. It looks like I'm in The Lion King, but I'm for it. What was I even talking about? Why are they singing? So I actually was fine at the fact that they were singing to us as the audience. And I think it's because of how it opened, where it was like them recording a video in a vertical sense, like TikTok. And so to me, I'm like, well, people are used to, if they go on their social media and stuff, for to have someone like us, me talking directly to you, and you're not like, why does she think she talking to me? You know, you just go with it. So as far as this movie, that's how I felt. I was like, oh, okay. And then also they answered my question of why are they singing? Like, what was the point of their song? Am I learning something about the character? Is the storyline developing because of this song and how it was directed? And so an example, I think, okay, shout out to my sister. Let's see if she even watches this episode. But, you know, she saw it, and one of her critiques was, it's a music video. Now, if you've been following me, you know I don't like it when a musical turns into a music video. Now, what does that mean to me? It means that they just take a song and they're like, oh, this shot's really cool. The production value is great. But then I'm there going, what the heck? Like, what is this supposed to mean for that character in that time? Or what is it for the audience? Like, this should be my clue to be learning something here, and it's not happening. So if you saw my episode about The Color Purple, I was confused about her song, which it was beautiful as far as when she was dancing with, like, it looked like they were in jail, like railroad workers, and then it goes to her at the waterfall with these women. So visually it's beautiful, but I'm confused at why this character is visualizing all of these things happening. And the only answer I could come up with is that the director was like, isn't this cool? We're going to shoot this. But it doesn't really help with, well, is this really what, you know, Cecile would be visualizing as far as what she wants with the song that was happening in that moment? So an example from Mean Girls is Revenge Party, which I did not like it when I first saw it. But then I'm now like, oh man, that was a cool part, and I loved it. And now you could look at that song and be like, well, Carolyn, don't you think that was quite a music video? And I'm like, no, because it was the interpretation of what Katie was seeing if Regina, you know, wasn't in charge of the school anymore. So everything was in pastel, and it was bright, and it was fun and stuff. And so it's like, well, did it bug you that they were singing to the camera? And I'm like, no, it didn't bug me. Okay, an example I can give is Chicago. Let's go with Roxy Hart. She's literally singing to us. And of course, it's like a beautiful set. So it's like, well, isn't that high production and stuff? And it's like, no, like it is high production, sorry. But what I mean is, no, it's still musical for me, not music video, because she's singing to us. So what's happening in her head of what she's thinking. So we're learning, like, her dream, of course, is like, everyone's gonna know my name's gonna be in lights. But as it's going on, you're seeing in between of her, like, in prison, but then her sort of being like, oh, I'm still fantasizing, like I'm gonna be in newspapers and stuff like that. So it's like, well, that's exactly what Katie did. She was fantasizing, and we were seeing what she was visualizing and what her hopes and dreams were, which was to get the boy and to, you know, like her whole thing. She was like, wait a minute, if Regina's out of the picture, I get the guy. So I'm like, that scene actually was very helpful to also show that Janice and Damien were a part of, you know, the visualization of like, we're going to do this. This is our plan. Here we go. So I hope that tangent helps as far as why I don't see it as a music video versus the things that I'm like, okay, it's turning into music video. If I have to ask the question of like, why am I visually seeing this? And the answer is because the director said so. That's when I'm like, okay, guys, we got to take a step back, because I don't want to see the director's perspective on it. I want to see, is it the character's perspective? If it is, who? And go on that. I think that's the easiest way for movie musicals to be able to have a sense of, why is there a song happening? Why are they doing this? And it really is when it goes into a certain character's perspective and seeing it unfold for us. And maybe it's because I'm like older and whatever. I didn't care for the costumes, and I was kind of like about it. But also, maybe it's not something for me to get. Maybe it also is a sense of, yeah, they're not going to look amazing and cute and stuff, but it's because they're shopping at Shein because that's what they can afford or whatever. So that's fine. Also, another critique my sister said was, I love that I'm bringing up my sister. I'm so sorry if she's watching this. I think her points are valid, but I guess on here I decide to be like, actually, this is how I felt, which I think actually points out why it's so important to have conversations about these musicals and so forth, because it's like, oh, that's how she saw it. She was wondering how in the world Katie, like when she did become the queen bee, like she didn't really look good. Also, I might be butchering what my sister said, but it was just like when Katie has like, I'm on top, she didn't really look that good. And in my head, I actually thought the same thing. I was like, oh, like she doesn't look good in this outfit or that, or like she looks weird. And then it hit me in the theaters. I was like, well, she probably looks weird doing it because she's not meant to be the queen bee. Like she's not meant to actually be this person. And maybe that's why looking at it, I was like, she just doesn't look right. Because there were things where I was like, that color doesn't like go with her. And I was like, And the only time I was like, oh, she actually looks nice here was when she was talking to Aaron Samuels and being like, you should come to my party. You better be there, bitch, and stuff. And I was like, oh, but they probably did that because it wouldn't make sense for her to look bad trying to ask the guy in. And I don't know. I wonder if there was a bit of like film manipulation there. I'm going to call her Moana. Did I like Moana as Janice? I actually did like her makeup and I liked her outfits. I did like her look. I thought she sounded great. I am still a little like, I think she's too Disney princess for me. But then again, I was like, you know what it is? I think there were moments where I was like, I don't know about this. And then I would start checking myself sitting there. And so as I was watching it, I was like, I don't know about her as Janice. And I was like, well, it's because I'm stuck on the emo phase, because that was what was happening in my generation. Like the emo, like it's not a phase, it's a lifestyle and stuff. And yeah, so then I was like thinking about it and I was like, there's not a lot of emo kids because we're now emo adults and stuff. So I was like, okay, what is the equivalent of, the goth kid or that as far as today's world? And the only thing I can think of is like alternative, or they have like different color hair and then they have a bit more, pretty much what they did with this Janice. So I was like, okay. I guess I keep finding myself being a bit more forgiving. I would love to hear your thoughts if you saw the movie musical and things like that. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is I don't want to be, and I'm not about this, I don't want to be a hater of like, oh, so we finally got a movie musical. Let me, tear it apart. I don't think that's it. I'm trying to give the best critiques I can. So then, I don't know, even though you're my audience watching, I'm hoping, who knows, maybe a director sees this and they're like, oh, something might click where they're like, okay, doing this in a movie musical can work. And that's why, because listen, let's be really honest here, is trying to have something that works as a movie musical is so hard. And I really do blame the directors and the direction of it. And I think that's why I'm like, you have to have someone that understands the stage world and putting it in the movie world. Because if it's someone that's just like goes into film and movies and they're like, yeah, I enjoy musicals, but they actually don't go into the musical theater of like learning why these songs happen and stuff. There's a YouTube video. I put it on my community and stuff. I'm going to link it. I really liked it. Okay, wait, hold on. Another critique is that there were only 2 musical transitions where I was like, absolutely not. It's musical theater cringe at this moment. And I'll even call it out. It's when Katie meets Aaron Samuels and it's like, and it's like, oh gosh, no, like no, just no, I don't like that at all. Like, no, thank you. It's too musical theater for me. And then there's the Janice when it's her big moment of like trust fall, and it's like she does a turn and she's singing. So that transition, I was like, ugh, no. But then for the rest of the song, I was like, oh man, that's actually really cool how they really utilized her running around the school and like having her fun, chaotic moment and just being like, hell yeah. And I was like, that was well done. Okay, great. Anyways, I know I'm just babbling here and I hopefully will edit it. I wanted this to be like a short review and here we are. Ugh. But anyways, don't forget to like and subscribe to this video and let me know what musicals we should talk about. And yeah, I'm just going to figure out my stuff. And without further ado, take care, darling.